questions, ask questions in the chat, or ask questions on audio if you have a chance to do that later on. We open up some dialogues. Our speaker tonight, I'll get him to introduce himself in a moment or two, but he is going to share the story of part of ING's agile transformation and how they managed to sustain that, which is, I guess we all look up to ING as being one of the most successful examples of agile adoption, especially in the financial services industry in the world. So we're all looking forward to hear from Joris tonight about his insights and what they did that made it work and made it effective. Thanks, Mervi, for clicking on the record button. So just letting you know that this meeting is being live streamed and also this meeting is being recorded, and I hope that's okay with everyone. Mervi, you've got a little short video to share, haven't you? So I'll stop the screen sharing here, yeah, and you can take over the screen sharing on your side.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I will share the YouTube video. Hold on.
Our world is changing quickly. New technology makes possible tomorrow what we can't even imagine today. And people have become accustomed to this rapid pace of change. As a company, this means that you need to adapt continuously to meet shifting customer demands and embrace new possibilities. More and more of our clients contact us primarily online or via their mobile phones. They expect the same experience whether they contact us over the phone, by chat, or in one of our branches. Until 2015, ING worked according to classical structures and hierarchies. It had some advantages, but it doesn't work in an age of fintechs, big data, and hyperconnectivity. Something had to change. With a desire to innovate and meet customer needs and experiences as our starting point, and inspiration from digital innovators like Spotify, Google, and Netflix, ING became the first bank in the world to adopt the agile way of working. And if you truly embrace the agile way of working as an organization, you say goodbye to trusted structures. It's a bold move. Your goals change, and so do your ways of managing and organizing. Your values change, and you communicate differently. Agile working is a mindset. You don't act agile, you are agile. You need to trust each other, take responsibility, and make things happen. This creates a happy and involved workforce that shows initiative and is prepared for change. So, how do we achieve this? We work in squads, small autonomous teams with end-to-end responsibility for their own customer-related purpose. Our squads consist of different disciplines: customer journey experts, data analysts, IT developers, and UX designers. The product owner oversees the squad's work and takes responsibility for the output. Agile coaches secure the squad's culture, skills, and way of working to ensure they operate as a high-performing team. Squad members share expertise and develop their craftsmanship within a particular chapter. For example, the data analyses chapter or product management process chapter. The chapter lead secures the personal development of the chapter members and helps define how to get a job done. And how do we achieve cohesion between squads? That's where tribes come in, a set of squads with a related purpose. For example, we have the Service Tribe Daily Banking and a Service Tribe Mortgages. This agile way of working empowers us to adapt readily to changing consumer needs and feedback. It makes us faster and more innovative. And most importantly, it makes us more attractive to customers and employees. What does or does not work is a matter of trial and error. Agile working lives up to its name. Nothing is carved in stone. That's the essence of our way of working at ING. We are already agile in the Netherlands. Now, we're rolling out our new mindset globally.
Thank you so much, Mevi, for sharing that video. That was really cool. And Joris is here. He's joined us. I'm going to share his slides. We just for everyone's info, we had made some decisions in order to make sure that we can be effective in tonight's webinar. We did have some technical constraints that we're under, and I'd ask you all to mute your microphones too if you're not talking. That'd be great as well, so that we minimize on the feedback. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce Joris Brox. Joris, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe give us some sneak preview of tonight's knowledge sharing.
Yes, hello everyone. Yeah, I think here at the office the internet is suddenly really bad, so I move now to my phone. So I hope it's now a bit better. Can you hear me and see me properly now?
We can.
Yes. That's awesome. Great. Thanks. Yeah. So I was wondering, also for the rest of the time, how much you are involved with Agile, all of you. So if I look at your work, if you say 1 to 5, how much do you think Agile is implemented, and how much do you work in an Agile environment? And could you maybe post it into the chat? So 1 is not so much, 5 is really a lot. So I can a bit adjust the presentation to that, because if you all say, yeah, we already work in an Agile environment for a very long time and we know a lot, then yeah, I can adjust it. So I see not so much, I see a lot of force. Yes, and it's really also working in it. So it's not only the theory, but also more of the practice. Let me check.
Lots of force.
So a lot of, so that's great. Yes. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good for me to know further. I think I missed a bit the beginning, but I think we agreed to, if people have questions in the to put them in the chat, and then maybe I think you would then sometimes pick a question and ask it during the presentation. So I'm okay with everyone asking a question also during the presentation. Normally I would like to have it as interactive as possible. So if there is something I talk about, you have a question on that particular part, please don't hesitate and fire the question. All right, so I think we have total around 30-35 minutes and then 10 minutes more or less for questions. I just repeating that, probably you guys already said that, but just I was just a bit out of due to the connection. So let me get started. I'm Joris Brox. I'm an Agile transformation coach from ING. I do this work now for 6 years within ING, but I worked since 2010 for ING in different other kind of roles. I did some merger and acquisition advice. I had my own board game company. Actually, that are two things which I didn't do for ING itself, but worked as a project manager finance, as an operational excellence consultant, and also as a black belt process consultant. And there I already did agile transition, or I did lean transitions in ING and in other countries as well. And yeah, that was a bit before ING moved towards agile. We worked a lot in lean and did lean transformations. For ING, I worked in the Netherlands, Belgium, Romania, and Turkey. And yeah, of course, I visited also a lot of other countries within ING, but these are places where I worked for a longer period of time. And I also learned a lot of differences in culture in the different countries like that. And maybe in the end, I think it's nice to also talk a little bit about that. Now, funny fact about me, I did over 100 escape rooms in my life, also throughout all continents, I think, in the world. But I'm still, in the beginning, I got better, but at the end, I couldn't get any much better anymore. And it's, I really like it, but it's, some are really, really tough. Maybe the next slide. Yes, a little bit more about me. So I like to run and also engage into triathlons. So that's the picture on the left and in the middle. And middle, especially with a lot of friends. I'm not, I really like to do it with others, so I train a lot with others. I'm not good at training like days alone, running, cycling alone. I really like to do it with others. Also like to play chess. I really like to travel. So on the right, two pictures are a really big travel I did to Cuba, which was really amazing. On the bottom left, I've got a really small boat in Amsterdam. So I live in Amsterdam, and the boat was really nice, especially during Corona, because you could not be close to people. But if you have a boat, then you can at least travel a bit around on the water. That was great. And also last year, I renovated my house, more as a project manager, but it was really a lot of work, and that's also a bit part of my life last year. I'm super happy that's now finished, and I'm living in it now. So
Hi, Joris, are you still there? We're going to give him a couple more seconds to see if he is still connected. Hi, Joris. Looks like we might have lost him.
Hi, good evening.
Hello, Joris. Okay, he's dropped out. So we'll wait for a moment or so for him to dial back in.
Paul?
yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's Joris back.
Yes,
Hi,
I'm here.
Joris.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You dropped out.
Wait, did I finish this slide?
You did. You talked about your house that you're renovating and travels to Cuba.
Okay, yes, that was the last part, indeed.
Shall we continue?
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So why agile? That's always the first question. Also, when I start an agile transition, that's also the first questions asked. But also, it should be really explained well and shared well why we do it, right? Otherwise, why would people change? And why in ING? We saw a lot of things changing around us, and this is a bit of a funny example. So this is a photo camera. Maybe we can go to the next slide also for sake of time a bit. And this camera is an old camera, and maybe you can add all the text already. Yes, so it's an old camera. Yeah, and I think the big message in this, it's an old camera, and the perception at that moment when this camera was there was that the camera is here to stay, and we know now how to make a picture, and that will not change in the future anymore so much, because now we have really something nice. And also this camera stayed for a while when it was developed. in 1975. Obviously, you see it's very heavy. You have to store it on a very old compact cassette. So I know a little bit those cassettes from when I was very, very young. You can make 30 images at once and not more. And back then we thought, yeah, it's fine. For a long time, we are definitely not going to combine it also with television screen or anything like that. So we thought, okay, that was fine. But in the meantime, obviously about cameras, I think everyone knows so many things are changed dramatically, and still, so if you have an iPhone, is now they're out every year. That's also considered now a phone or a photo camera, and every year there's a new one with different capabilities. So everything is moving really fast, and that's also for banking and insurance the case. Everything around us is moving so fast at the moment that we needed to adapt more to change. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to keep up. So what's demanded from us as a bank back then, and that was around 2010 when we in the beginning started, yeah, it's changed a lot. Am I still understandable?
Yeah, great. Clear.
Okay, nice. And maybe we can go to the next slide.
This one?
The next one, I think.
Okay.
Oh.
This one?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, it is a bit, yeah, we can go a bit further. I think it's might be better too. Yes, so bottom line is everything is evolving faster and faster. Maybe next slide. Yes. I think it's also good to mention it. So also what changed specifically for ING. So a lot of regulations changed. The ECB had all kind of European Central Bank, and the Dutch bank also increased a lot of their requirements to the banks. For example, the KYC, the Know Your Customer in Know Your Customer area. It's very important at the moment. The society, so also the society expected much more from us. They wanted to be able to always see what's on their bank account. They want to, if they want to wire money, they want to be able to do it instantly. They want to, wherever they are, they want to see what's my bank account, how does my mortgage look like, what's the amount of my mortgage, everything. So also society expects much more from banks. Also the competitive landscape. I will go back to that on next slide. Together with technology, fintech. So not only the banking landscape itself changed. So there were more banks were entering, for example, also the Dutch market. And in the past, we only had 3 big banks, and later we had much more competition from other banks as well. But also on the fintech technology, that was also, and that is still a big threat for traditional banks. And the customer behavior, I'll explain that a bit. So it's there was a lot of pressure to change. And maybe if we look at the next slide, I think that's an interesting slide. Yeah, so this is now at the moment the European fintech overview. And what you can see, so they are more specialized. So we have the traditional banks, they do all kinds of things. We from ING do a lot of different things. However, for every different area, you have much more other smaller companies at the moment who are often like starting from a startup and going really fast to take a peek of that market from us, a piece of that market from us. And obviously they can really focus on one thing. So they can really do that really, really well, and then build their company from that. Yeah, and if you look at this, so there are so many competitors at the moment in all those areas a traditional bank stands for. So yeah, there's a lot of competition. The competition increased massively. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I really like this one from Conway. the simplicity of our product is constrained to simplicity of our organizational structure. So what you see with that competition and what the competition offers, things are much more easier and often simpler than a long time ago. A long time ago, if you want to do a transaction, wire money from one bank to another, you wire it. You have to go to a bank, and when you go into the bank, you fill out all kinds of things, and then things are wired. At the moment, everything is so much simpler, so much easier with a few buttons, clicks on your app. You wire money to someone, and I like this one because you really have to make it as simple as possible for the customer as a bank, and you cannot do that with an old-fashioned bank organizational design, but you also have to renew your design as well yourself.
Joris, can I just jump in here and make a comment about Conway? What surprised me about this idea, which is called Conway's Law, is that he actually came out with this in 1965. And we were really at the very, very start of the whole technology revolution back then. You know, computers were mainframes and people fed cards into them. But he saw that the way people were designing these, computer programs and products, it absolutely mirrored the structure of their organizations, simple or complex. So he was a real visionary.
Yes, yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Yes. So why can Agile be very effective? For example, if you look at the projects you're doing an Agile way, you can see a bit of differences with the old-fashioned project management. So I also started as a project manager in ING. And then what we did, we wrote a big plan with a lot of text, a lot of checks. And after, let's say, a while, we said, okay, this is the final thing we're going to build. We start building, and then let's say 6 to 9 months later, there was a product ready. But what we improved with the Agile way of working is those 4 things compared to that. So what you do with Agile way of working, I will come back to that later as well, of course, that you constantly check with your customer, okay, we made this, do you want this? Yes, okay, then we continue with, if not, what else do you want? And we are going to make that. So you constantly check with your customer, is that what you really want? And because of that, if you see, let's say in the top left, you see the visibility. So you make something, you test it directly, so it's very visible for the market, and you can adapt to it, what you see in the second part. If you have a traditional project and you start building something, and during the making of the project you don't check in with your customer, you don't know if you're on the right track on that way. Also, regard to business value, if you deliver first small things which deliver a little bit of value yet already to the customer, then the customer is already happy, and based on that feedback you can continue, but you can build something which quickly has already value, instead of that you build something which after 6 till 9 months is there, and then it adds business value at this moment. And also the risk, so you can also in an earlier moment you check what it is it safe enough? You also develop things on the way with feedback from the customer. That's a really good way to handle it if done well. Of course, it's the Agile way for, if you do it, you should also do it in the right way. That's quite important in this. Yes. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Yes, I think this is quite a familiar picture, especially if most of you know a lot about Agile way of working. So traditional mindset is in the top. You start making all things kind of things already in a really good shape, but it's not really useful yet. And in the bottom you can see the first picture of the Mona Lisa is already the shape. You know what it will be. It's already and have sort of nice to have a look at it, and from that you improve bit by bit by bit till the last one. Yes, we can go to the next slide. Yes, how it started at ING. So yeah, let's say it started a bit at 2010. It was in the beginning, it was not really supported yet by senior management, only a little bit. But this was mainly like teams who really wanted to move towards the agile way of working. Also helped with a few agile coaches to work in a more agile way. And they started with the app. And so developing the app, of course, at the benefits of people could directly use it. And also the idea behind it was that if we develop something, or increase something improve something in the app, that we directly get feedback to it from it, and then improve. So in the beginning it was only, you could see only the balance of your account, and a bit later you could already wire money, for example, or also see what's in your savings account. And that was really based on the iterative feedback from the customers. And in the beginning, what I understand of it is that in the beginning they also printed out all the feedback, and to look at it and see, okay, what's then the most feedback we get, what are the best improvement ideas. And of course later this was all more automated. That's what in 2010, I think. On the next slide we'll see that we moved to, yes, we moved, so it was a bit, people were interested in that, how it worked, because they saw it was a very small, with a small amount of people, a big success. So other people got interested, and it was till 2013 more bottom up, as well as supported from a few senior management, but from 2013 it was more that the whole Dutch organization, which is kind of big for ING, started moving towards agile, also really with a lot of support from the senior management. And I think also towards the agile transition I did myself later. That's really crucial to be successful if you want to make it in a bigger context successful. You really need to support from your senior management, and one of the most important roles of them is to remove impediments for that agile transition, but also impediments in that work. So the idea is that you, if there's a problem, that senior management is really there to help removing that problem, so we can continue. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Yes. Yeah, what was really cool, I think, in the Think Forward strategy in 2014 back then, that you that if you look at here is the ING strategy, and it's really like accelerating innovation to improve service, and also think beyond traditional banking to develop new business models. So that really opened up, even in the strategy, that because it was mentioned about innovation, about develop new business. And it also, it really breathed more and more agile throughout the organization, also even visible in this. Yeah, and I think that really helped as well. That really helped. Because, of course, also during transition, it goes a bit back and forth. And in this way, it went, it really helped. It really accelerated the transition. And I also learned from it. So I also, with my transition later, if, for example, there was a business director came to me and said, okay, I want to do an agile transition. Can you help me with that? Then I also had a few chats with them in advance, and I always went for the director who had, let's say, intrinsically the most motivation to go there, because it's really good if they support it as well, and they show also that agile behavior. Otherwise, it's super hard to get there, because I'm just an agile coach. people tend to look up, look up to the most senior people, of course, in the organization. If they show that behavior, that's really the best to get the transition going. All right, we can go to the next slide. I think I'm a little bit behind time, but yeah. So the Agile Manifesto, I think we can show it, and I can say a little bit about it. Let's see. Yes.
Joris,
yes.
How much was the Agile Manifesto embedded into people's mindset in order for Agile ways of working to be effective in ING?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I think it's really important to always, so in the beginning it was really with every discussion, every talk, with every meeting about the transition, it came along. So it came much more along. Later, everyone knew it. If a lot of people can just tell, okay, could say what it was. So I think we tend to do it a little bit less. But sometimes I took it back during reorganization, because sometimes people know it but don't really know it. So people know what it stands for, what's written, but not really what it stands for, and also not embedded anymore in their way of working. But yeah, I think it's still still very strong, and it still also holds. Also with the last transformations I was working on, I also still see, okay, people know it, but it's not that they always act like that. And I think important here is that also it's not that you should just ignore the items on the right here. I mean, process and tools, super important, of course. But we say the left would be a bit more important, and then go to the right, instead of the other way around. By the way, I cannot see fully the slide anymore. I'm not sure if that's correct, but
yeah, it's I'm not sure why I can't see the text very well. It's I think because I've opened it up in Google Slides. Maybe Google Slides is misinterpreting the colors a little bit.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can see it again. Right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I think we can go to the next slide, to the 8 principles ING used. So we use these principles and also share this always. For example, if we did transition from business units, we also use these and ask the people, okay, what's most important to you as well. And for example, if you look at what do we do with it? For example, with new business units, if you move to Agile, for example, if you say then empower teams, that if you do a transition, it's not that an Agile coach and maybe a director comes and says, okay, from now on work Agile and we do it like this. No, we really want to explain the mindset, but we want to empower the teams of those units to really contribute to that transformation, because maybe we know a bit most about the mindset, but the people who are there in the business unit, they know the best about the content of the work, how current processes, for example, work, how things are done. And there are always a lot of people from those teams who know how we can improve, how can we change it. So always bring those people along. Also, for example, we are consistent in our organizational design and way of working. If you look at different countries which moved towards Agile, that in principle we have the same organizational design in mind. And then with the people from that country, you're going to look, okay, how does that then exactly work in practice for us? Because also all the units are different, so you need to cater for that. And reuse instead of reinvent. So also after we had a few countries successfully transformed towards the Agile way of working, and we're going to a new country, then we also gave examples of how it worked in the previous countries, and why it did and why it did not. Because we don't want to, of course, you don't want to make the same mistakes if you do it in other countries, so that we all can learn and also reuse what was really working. So that's nice. So we always kept those as well.
And
then I think
these were developed by ING internally. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes. And I think now it's maybe nice to talk about how we did on tribe and organizational level. So if we did a transformation for an area within ING, then we saw 4 different types of organizational, let's say sub-organizational types, building blocks, and the delivery organization is one of them. I think it's nice to go into one for now, and I think this is also the most famous one. This is initially I will not say, let me say it in a good way. So we went to Spotify, so not me, but other people from the bank back then went to Spotify and looked at how Spotify was organized back then. And that was a bit the blueprint to start from for us. And from that, we built our own way of working and our own organizational model. Maybe in the next page, if you can, yes. So this is the tribe model in ING. And what you see is on the left, you see the whole tribe, an example of a tribe. And obviously you see the different squads from vertically and the chapters horizontally. And in the chapter, in the squad, you have all different kind of people with different kind of expertises. So, for example, an ops developer, but also someone, a product manager, dev engineer, ops engineer, marketeer, all put in one squad. So very different types of people, and with one product owner. And that product owner is then the one who functionally leads the team. So he decides and prioritizes what are we going to make as a team. Horizontally, you see the chapters, and that are people with the same expertise. So one of those is also the chapter lead. So he's in that area of expertise, one of the most experienced. So he can help and teach the others to develop in that area. At the same time, also evaluate those people. Often that's a bit perceived as difficult because I get a lot of questions. Okay, but if you are in a squad and you need to make something, you're probably more with those people than in your chapter. That's also true. Still, what we did, and I think that's a bit key here, is in the past we had like a manager who's responsible and for the prioritization of what the team is going to make, but also evaluating the people and making sure that the people get better, get developed. And those 2 aspects we split, so in different roles. So now you have a product owner who's responsible for defining what are we going to make with the team, and also needs to have a product vision. So what do we want to make now, but also 6 months from now, 1 year from now, where do you see the team developing over time? And the chapter lead is more really working on the skills of his chapter and improve that. For example, and we have like a data engineer chapter here, and you have someone who's very experienced, and he helps the others getting better. And they are not necessarily in one squad. Let me see. Yeah, and above, so you have let's say people working in squads. Then you have product owners, chapter leads, and you have a tribe lead, and he's the manager in that sense, responsible for the whole delivery of that tribe, and all the chapter leads report to him, as well as all the product owners report to him. So that role is very important in this model. And yeah, and I got a lot of question. What defines a tribe? A tribe to me is if you have, as a group, you have one purpose, then you can be one tribe. If you have another purpose, then you should be in another tribe with your squad. The agile coach, in the sense, he builds high-performing teams through individual and team coaching. So I have to say, over time, what happened is, in the beginning there were many coaches for one coach for 2 teams. There were situations, and now more and more there are less and less coaches because it's more embedded in the organization itself. So the chapter lead and product owner and HR, they now take care more and more over the agile way of working in ING. You also have center of expertise, sometimes also they're in a tribe, and they're a group of people which you don't want to have in one squad, but you want to keep small group people, a small expertise, which is often very scarce, so you cannot really divide them over squads, but you keep a central team to do that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe if there are questions about this one, it's I often get a lot of questions about it.
Maybe do you want to narrate the question?
Yes, Paul, I put the question on the Slack. Yeah, you can check. There's a 3 question, Paul. Have you received it?
Oh, I'm looking at the chat. I thought you would narrate the questions to Joris. So I'll do that. So are there multiple POs in a squad? Is that normal in ING? That's the first question.
Let me see. I'm sorry. I said now see the chat as well. So the first one is where these principles are unique to ING. I think related to the 8 principles. Yes. The other is multiple PO in a squad usual in the ING model. No. In the end, there's always one PO because one person should in the end be responsible for the prioritization. So you are in a squad. So in principle, the whole squad is responsible, but in the end, the product owner decides because he also has the contacts with the parties outside. Who are you delivering to? What you do see is you have more, and that's also roles in a squad like customer journey experts. And for example, if you're a customer journey expert in mortgages, then you know everything about mortgages and the business and the customers. And often already you know a lot about the data you have about those customers. And often also a PO is also a role. So all the other people in that squad have their functions. They have their jobs, and one of them is the PO. But the PO, can be like a customer journey expert. It can be anyone, but that's the one in the end who decides on the priorities. Is there meant to be many product owners in one squad here? No, indeed, yes. Can you please elaborate more when you said care about talent? What's the actual action that you did?
Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Yeah. I think it's a really good question.
Yeah, I think the
go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you have a horizontal, it's like a lasso, all right, around chapter X, and you have multiple POs inside. So I think this is what the question is more premised around. So are you saying that there's a couple of POs inside? Maybe there's a confusion about what the chapter is here. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So you see the POs are there on top of this that picture. And normally you don't have a chapter of product owners. Often a product owner is a customer journey expert, and that's a particular function in the Scots, and that's really what I said, the expert from understanding the business, being closest to the customer, also understanding the customer's data and the customer's behavior. And those customer journey experts, they are then catered for one chapter. But it can also be a chapter. It's a group of people with the same function. So they can learn from each other because of the same kind of job, but they don't. They're often not in the same Scot. I hope I explained it a bit right this way.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's about the lasso that is chapter Y looks quite quite logical, but chapter X, I think maybe that's the confusion there. Yeah, thanks.
I think putting the PO on the top of the one does not necessarily make sense, because a PO is more a role and it's not a function. So and the function are together in a chapter. In this case, if they're all POs, they're probably also customer journey experts, and that would be the chapter of customer journey experts.
Okay, thank you.
I understand. It's a good remark. Yeah.
Shall we move on? Come back to some of the questions later.
Yes. I can later come back to those questions. The QBRs, I will go briefly through it. So what you see, if you have a lot of Scots with often a strong autonomy, you still have dependencies outside the Scots. For example, two Scots want to have the same need, for example, the same IT engineer, which is not in their Scot. Then you also need to make sure that that you align on that, and that you give the IT engineer to the team who can bring the most value. So you have all kind of responsibilities and goals also above a Scot, of course, and that's why we have the QBR. It's like a quarterly business review, and every 3 months is being held. So every 3 months we're going to see to realign on dependencies. Are we going for the right goals as a whole tribe, not as just a Scot, but as a whole tribe? And do we need to align priorities? As I said, if two teams both need a specific resource somewhere else, for example, a data engineer, then we need to decide who's going to, how can you do it? And maybe one team needs to work on something else because there's, that resource is not available to them. It's considering time, it's maybe not good to go fully into it, but this is a really nice way of scaling. If you scale it to still keep your the right goals and make sure you work on the right things, the right priorities. So maybe we can go to the next slide. Yes, so and also to support the management. I really like this topic as well. You can you can just have 2 hours talk about only this slide. Is the Obeya room. In the past, pre-corona, we had like physical rooms, which was like a cockpit for the management, but basically for the whole tribe. So the whole tribe was able to go into that room, and in one place you saw the performance wall, and there you said, okay, guys, this is for this quarter, and after, of course, also this is where we want. This is what we want to achieve, and also how are we doing on that? For example, if we say we want to have 500 more customers at the end of this year, how are we doing at the moment? Sort of a dashboard of how we're doing, and also often with quantitative numbers, so you can really measure if you are on track in your delivery that year. The portfolio wall, which you see on the opposite, that is the things we are making to get there. So, okay, we want more customers. What do we then need to make to improve in our, for example, app or whatever, to to get those customers? What are the ideas there behind it? Then you have the improvement wall, and that is how we can improve our also our way of working, for example, as a management team. But it's all, of course, also cascading down to the teams. So what do we want to improve in order to be able to deliver better? And the action board is from the management team of Tribe, which back then was also physically always there. So the actions they did to improve and to help the tribe as well, like that are like smaller, quicker actions. Like you want to have that done in a few weeks. Especially preferably in that same sprint to improve things. Yeah, and I think I added 2 pictures. So in the next 2 slides. Yes, and this is how the rooms look like. And this is, for example, the performance wall. And here you can see if it's green, then the targets are on track. And if it's red, it's not on track. And the idea is that you don't discuss everything because there's so much out there, but you always only explain or discuss the exceptions. If it's red, okay, what do we need to change to make it green? So what kind of things do we then need to make to get there? I think it was also for me very exciting being there, and it's nice. And of course now we have it more digitally. Yeah.
Hi Joris, it's Gretel here. Just checking in, how many people or squads were in the Abaya room? Was it all of ING, or how many were we trying to squeeze into one room?
Yes, yeah, I think we had Abaya rooms on different levels, but on Tribe level, and that normally consists of a group of 50 till 200 people. There we had one. So
about 250 people to and their work to one Abaya room.
Yes, yeah. You could go to your own room, of course. If you worked closely to another tribe, you could also once in a while walk in their room and then see what they were doing and what their goals are, to understand also better that. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
And this one is more the portfolio wall. So here are the epics and features which you can see are the idea to be made per team. When do they deliver what is the idea. So of course it's not set in stone because things can change over time, but this is what you then can see from all the teams, who's making what and when. It's very nice. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the agile on the squad level is at the moment, I think with this audience, not that important, because I think if most people gave if there are questions maybe related to it. So this is the Scrum framework as a whole. I have some slides after that which explain a bit more the details about this. Still, I was always surprised that even when I get to teams, they say they work in let's say in the Scrum, ING Scrum way, and often there were always things which could still be improved. So that's why also in a later phase during the transition, I still kept talking about this as well. But if you're very experienced, maybe for time's sake, it's better to
There were a couple of questions from earlier when we were talking about the tribe and chapter model that I thought were quite interesting questions to understand how it worked in practice. One of the questions was how many, what percentage of the people in each squad are dedicated to that squad? And the other question was, do the chapters just focus on talent development? Were they actually doing anything that wasn't directly related to product development, things like infrastructure, operations, and so on?
Yeah. And I think related to the last question, yeah, if you, for example, if you're in an IT chapter, and of course if you can go to trainings to get better, but they also develop things together, generic things which they can use in the different teams as well. So that's also what you do then within a chapter. In that way, you also learn, but you also make something which is valuable for outside as well in the squads. Yeah, good question. Yeah, first one, I think it's more related to the time. What time you have then for a chapter and in a squad?
Well,
is that a bit what I read between?
Yeah, lots of organizations, they want the benefits of it, fast and iterative delivery, but they still want to have individuals working on multiple products concurrently. I think that question was kind of testing how how ING went, covered that challenge, I think.
Now, I think I also mentioned back then the center of expertise. So, yeah, preferably you don't want people to work on many different things at the same time, because if you focus on one thing, you'll be able to do it better and faster. And then if you finish that, you go to the next thing you do. But indeed, often, especially with some scarce resources, you will see that, there's such a high demand and everyone is asking them. And maybe the easy answer for me is to say, okay, in the center of expertise, if you cannot, let's say if you have 5 people like that and you have 20 squads who want something from those 5 people, sometimes better to put them together in a center of expertise. And then the center of expertise then prioritizes themselves. Okay, what's then the most important things coming from those 20 squads, and then work on the most important things, then less important on that area of expertise only itself.
Right.
That's a bit the easiest answer at the moment. Preferably still you want to have a lot of the knowledge in the squads, but of course that's in the ideal world, that you have cross-functional teams which are able to deliver many different kind of things together as a team. And then also knowledge sharing from you also models where you can have knowledge. If you start with a center of expertise with the intention to also have a lot of knowledge sharing sessions toward those squads, then in a later phase maybe the knowledge will be embedded in that squad. So that's what we also try to do as much as possible. Which is often difficult, but because if that resource and knowledge is scarce, they're also put often directly into delivery, of course, so they don't have time to, again, share that knowledge that easily.
Great. Yeah, I see what you mean about the level of detail here.
Yeah, it's quite detailed, and if there are later questions about it, don't hesitate.
This was a topic that you wanted to cover, though, wasn't it?
Yes. If there's still time left for that, Paul?
Yeah, I think there is another 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, yes. Yes. Yeah, so I didn't write everything down about my experience. I think it's better to say a few words about that. And so when I started ING, I didn't have that much international experience. So my first assignment was in Belgium, in Brussels, and probably for you it's super close to each other. I think I can drive there from Amsterdam and be there in 2 hours. So I expect it to be quite the same. Also, most of them can speak the same language as I do, which is Dutch. Let's say that's my primary language. So I also thought I wouldn't see that many differences, but when I came there were a lot of differences. I was super surprised, and I think one of the most things what sort of shocked me is that let's say the Dutch people like me were very direct and also said things which were not really You should normally say when you know someone a bit better. Let's put it like that. And yeah, and the people, for example, the trainees from Belgium, they were more introvert, I would say. And for example, when I went with my manager to a trainee from Belgium with his manager or her manager, then I was really supposed to talk a lot during those meetings with the four of us. And the trainee in Belgium was really was a bit inclined to, was a bit more preserved and said less. That was it was quite a difference. That is just a small thing, but yeah, there were many other things as well, but I cannot elaborate on all of that. I also worked a lot together with people from Spain, Italy, and Turkey. So yeah, Southern Europe. And yeah, what I noticed there is that to work together with them, for them is really important, more than for Dutch maybe, to get to know them first. For example, have some dinners or so. If they knew you a bit better, the cooperation went much better over time. And yeah, with Dutch people, that's not always, I think, necessarily, but it helps, of course, if you know others. But in this case, it was really it was much, well, there was a big difference where if you had like the relationship, if it was nice, then also work was always also super. Lean transition in Turkey, and agile transition in Romania. I think for me it was really wonderful times in both cases. I went in Turkey, I went for 4 months, and in Romania I went for 1 year. Yeah, for me it was super nice to experience a lot of different people, completely different environment, and different people. And yeah, I think also there, especially also in the lean transition, we were really focused on people in the teams on all levels speaking up. Also on the lowest level, you would like to have people to speak up to improve things. So we were also helping managers to listen to their people to see, okay, how can we improve things? And in the beginning, I had the feeling that people didn't always feel comfortable to speak up, because if you say, for example, something you can improve, then it could be seen as criticism to the current manager or management to not have seen that before, for example. That is how I, from a lean agile perspective, how I look upon it. I think if people in the teams are doing that, it's also a lot of credits to the manager, because he's making people who are thinking about how to improve things, right? I think that's great. So that's a different view on things, maybe. And you see in some countries people are more reserved to tell these things on this, and others are more outspoken already from the start. So that's a bit real quick my experience. But there's much more. I've got 1,000 stories to tell about all of these specifically, even. Yeah.
Would it be true to say that by the time you got to do your lean transition in Turkey, your agile transition in Romania, you already had some experience working across cultures, and you were comfortable, you knew what to expect?
Yes, indeed. It really helped. I have to stay still. Every country is super different again, but just the awareness of that people can be so different, that's already like a really big plus. That's really amazing. And already a good start. And you see some similarities in the countries. Yes.
Yeah, and it adds a level of novelty too, doesn't it, to the work and the teams?
Yes, I thought for me it's really nice. It's really enriching my life, I think, to see that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
I think let me think about this. What are the foundations that have stayed the same time and across countries? I think for the first one, it's those 8 principles. So I think despite all the differences, despite all the different angles, how people look at things, it's good to have as an organization still like the same principles. It doesn't mean everyone needs to be exactly the same everywhere, absolutely not. But it's good to have the same principles, so you have the same base for everything. And then because if you have that, then you can also have the good discussions amongst each other. What are things that have changed over time? Yeah, I think, for example, what you see some specific roles. So I think the product owner, you see some specific roles we have sometimes also evolve. So I think sometimes the product owner becomes in ING, I think more and more now also a people manager as well within that squad. So the chapter lead is, let's say, the people manager of the managing the people, but yeah, also you see that the product owner more and more as sort of a leading role, setting the right example within a squad, and that's more and more over time. I think that has been increased. So you see the different roles change. So it's also not that you do transition and you're ready. I think you're constantly changing, and it continues. Keep continuing. Things I'm surprised about people on Agile journey. Many different things, I would say, but I think that basically the fact that I would really say that the people in the different countries and that it can be very different. In the end, you will see that you can come up with a lot of the same things as well. So that's really nice, and I think also those 8 principles really help in that. Because I think that also in transition, in the end, you have the same principles, but also there's no tribe which looks exactly like another tribe. It's all very, very, very different as well. So that's really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let me see. Yeah, things that have failed. Yeah, I think I also did a lot of things which if I look back, I could have done it a bit differently. Yeah, I think in some places, in some countries, it's really important to explain till detail what is the idea and why you do it, and you keep conveying the message why you do it. For example, in other countries, also always you need to do it, but I think in some areas it's more okay to just start with it as well and just go and then learn along the way, and not because then people say, yeah, this is 10 times you're saying this, come on, let's just do it. And then there's a bit sometimes I went too fast with just do it instead of explaining it why we do it, and sometimes I explain too much why, and then people say, yeah, come on, you told me this 1,000 times, I don't even know how it looks like, let's just do it and let's see how it goes. So that's also interesting difference.
The right amount of context.
Indeed, yeah, that's a good summary of that. Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
There's a couple of questions that have come through the chat. I'm not sure if you can see the later questions.
Yes. I can see them. I can start. What's your next for coaching career? That's a really good question. What I also sometimes have the feeling that I'm coaching people, and then I think I can do it so much better myself, and sometimes think I should do it myself as well as some managers or some form. That may be a next step for me to do it. But yeah, and the next coaching career, if you really look at the coaching itself, I think also there. I think it's nice to be able to do it yourself as well as mentioned. Let's keep to that. Lots of international experience. Where are you now based? I'm now based in Amsterdam at the moment. Where do you think about good or bad Scrum process? There are good or bad Scrum process. is there a good? No, I think. Yeah, and can you measure it? Yeah, that's. I think for measuring you can fill a whole new meeting, but there, of course, there are some things you can do to measure. You can, for example, work with story points. I think you can work with the amount of bugs coming out of a new delivery, new implementation. I think also always check the happiness in a squad and in a tribe. In one easy, you can do it very simple way or in a more complex way, but also check how are you people doing and yeah, get feedback from them. And also, if we want to improve things, please let them join. Yeah, and Boot or Bad Scrum, I've seen in many areas where Scrum is not applied well as well. So yeah, you need to do it well. Otherwise, don't do it, I would say. Yeah, the slides I can share later. I think mostly I will, Paul, if okay, I can send a version to you which can be shared.
Yes, or maybe that would be great.
Yes. I think
We'll leave it on this slide. Actually, I think we can probably stop sharing now.
Yeah, maybe one. Do they build and maintain the tribes? Even Scots build and maintain. That's also a bit the idea of DevOps, of course, that a team who what you're making, that you also need to maintain it. That's often what happens in a Scots. So if you make it, you also need to maintain it. It also makes people think about how to automate things, for example, so you don't have too much maintenance on that. But I think DevOps or BizDevOps can be yeah, a complete new meetup, I would say. Yeah. All right. I think, are there any more questions I missed?
Yeah. There's one just coming in here, two more come in. So there's one from Jackie, if you scroll through to the bottom. Agile is about interaction, but basically we have limited budget, and even some organizations do not have a budget for trial and error, but keep focusing on BAU budget. What is the strategy to tackle this problem? Is it necessary for a company to spare budget for trial and error?
Yeah, let's say if a company is not open to experiment and only wants to do the business as usual, then you will not innovate as quick as possible. And obviously that must also be sort of a driver from the management or the owners of a company. Otherwise, that will be difficult. But yeah, what I often do with teams is also to let them have time to experience those of the experiment. So if there's a lot of pressure and you don't do anything about it, then people will never come up with or often will not come up with different kind of solutions. And sometimes when the pressure is a little bit off and people look at it from a bit different angle or have time to experiment with some things which might end up with a lot of benefit for then yeah, you should give that time. And as a coach, I often help with that. Also, if let's say often the teams want it, sometimes a manager or director doesn't want it, then I think it's also the coach of an agile role to be an help in that and to let's say help the team with that towards their management to get that kind of time to innovate in the end. Yeah.
So basically, if the organization isn't prepared to invest some time and effort in that trial and error, then innovation is unlikely to happen, is the summary I'm hearing from that.
yeah, I think it improves, what I've seen, it improves definitely the innovation, yes.
Yeah. So there's another absolutely fantastic question from Oksana, which was, how did you manage to keep the right culture?
Yeah, to be very honest, it's two steps forwards and one step back. So during a transition, you always have moments where you go back into the old behavior, and also sometimes when you coach or a specific area and you think the tribe is really there and really agile, and then you go maybe to other tribes, and if you look 3 years, 2 years later back, and you go back to the tribe, even then sometimes you see a tribe getting back to an old way of working. So it's not always everywhere perfect. Absolutely not. It's yeah.
Do you have a hypothesis on why people go back to an old way of work?
Yeah, I think there are many reasons. So it can be also new people or new management, for example, or after a while, people still, yeah, let's say if it's not really into their system, really into the way of working, how they used to it, yeah, then yeah, it can go back quite quickly actually, because then people go back to their old habits, and that's of course more comfortable primarily, and then yeah, you have a setback. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's comfortable, but it's very uncomfortable working full time in a non-agile environment.
Yes, I always look a bit upon it like this. If you ever worked in really an environment like that, as a person, it's really hard to go back. So that's also why I believe mostly in it, because in the end, more people will understand it, see it, and then the moment to go back, yeah, it's super hard. It's super hard. You will not like that. So that's why I hold on to, and I really believe in it because of that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There's another question in there that's just come in, which is, what was the moment when you got a feeling, yes, now it is full scale agile in practice, it's really working? Do you remember that moment of seeing a team and then a tribe and then a country actually really humming and thinking, yes, we've done it, even if?
Yeah, I think often, yeah, I know so I got a bit of feeling when also the whole the buildings here changed in a very different way to facilitate it. So then I also thought, yeah, everyone wants it, and also the buildings are, yeah, even the buildings are really changing for that. So that was a moment, and that was more for generic for the, let's say, for the whole company. But normally I have it more when I'm myself in a tribe or even a squad, where I see things really going well, and people are happier, and we deliver much more than before. And when I'm really myself, and of course it's also nice if you're then involved as a coach, right? Then that's really, yeah, that's really nice. But this one specific moment for, yeah, it's all kind of small moments. Sometimes it's with a squad and I'm super happy that some things work and some things go well, and sometimes you have a sort of, you enter an area where a tribe is working, and then you walk around, and then you feel that it works, and that people like it, and you see the results. And of course, because we are not doing agile because we want to make people necessarily happy, but it's more if you have happy people, then in the end you will also deliver more as a company. You will do more, right? Achieve more. So that's
That's what the benefits of Agile tell us. There's a couple of questions here. one you probably can't see, and the other one is a very similar question from Kamal, which is, how can you link Agile to performance management systems? Or what were some of the measures of success? So I guess there's two, it's both about measures. One was, how did you link the new ways of working to people's performance? And the second question was, what were the key metrics used to measure success?
Yeah, I think to measure people's performance, that's has been quite a challenge as well. And one of them was because of, let's say, the chapter lead. He, in the end, is responsible for evaluating people, and the people in his chapter are not necessarily in his squad, right? So you don't see them as a team manager used to do in the past, because you're not working on a daily basis with the people you have to evaluate and you have to make better. So it's very important to have a good feedback loop with everyone. So if you have someone in team but in another squad, talk with that product owner, talk to other people in that squad, but also talk within your chapter about the performance of the other chapter members. So you need to not only judge yourself, but also, more people get responsibility to help others, but also to evaluate others. So and for some people it's difficult. Some new managers is a bit difficult because it's not only your decision, but you have to also give a bit of power to others, which not everyone really likes, right? That sometimes is difficult, but so you have to invest a bit more time to find out how people are performing and ask others around that person.
Yeah, so it's more one, and the 360 feedback is much
more like that. Yes, yeah.
And the other one was what were the how was maturity measured, and what were the key metrics used to measure?
I think people always expect then like an answer from that we are going to measure very different things than we normally do in a non-agile world. But for me, that's not really the case. For me, it's in the end, you still, if you look at customers, you still see, okay, for example, how many customers do we have? For example, do we do more cross-selling with customers? In the end, for a lot of companies, what's the profit we make? So that's more on, let's say, on a bigger meta level for a company. And if you look at the tribe, then for me it's also okay. Are we, for example, in line with our risk requirements? If you're a mortgage tribe, do we then? How do we do on mortgages with a customer? Do we do better? Are we better able to contact them and to sell more as well? So that, let's say, on a meta and like tribe level, I would say, for me, that doesn't really change. On squad level, you can say, you can do a few things, but even that is, I think you could also do in the old way of working, if I can mention it like that, is, and that was mentioned earlier. So if you go into production, how many bugs do you have, right? Will it become less overtime? Maybe can you go overtime faster more times into production? So can you deliver at more moments in time? That's a bit related to Agile in the sense that you can quicker respond to the customer's needs. Can you quicker adapt? But for me, that's also what you normally should measure. So it's not really a complete, but that's I think interesting ones in an Agile world. But I think key is to measure. So also sometimes people say, it's all like if you can do what he wants in Agile and there's no discipline or whatsoever. It's absolutely not the case. There's often more discipline required, and but people can decide more for themselves how they want to do it. But you also keep measuring things. You keep measuring if you get better or not. So yeah.
Thank you. What I took out of that, what I heard with regard to that was, and the first thing that came was you talking about measuring customers first and their happiness. So we're just running out of time, and I know that Paul's got a couple of extra slides that we'd like to close out the session today with. So I'll hand back to Paul here.
Thank you, Gretel. First of all, I'd like to thank Joris for joining us tonight and sharing your experiences from an agile adoption that obviously resonates very strongly with many people who are agile believers and agilists. So, very, very much appreciated the experiences that you shared with us. Thank you so much. Secondly, I'd like to thank everyone who's attended tonight for supporting our Agile Circles community in Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia. We've been going since 2016, and Agile Circles is powered by eKeeper, and we will continue to share knowledge into this community. And now that it's a little bit easier to organise face-to-face events, we will be increasing the frequency of face-to-face events that we have in our respective countries in 2023. Just I guess a quick 30-second elevator pitch on eKeeper. We are we're an agile transformation agency, and we specialize in training, coaching, consulting, and innovation, helping your companies innovate and make those changes and future-proof yourselves. Again, so great to have everyone joining us tonight. And the questions were really wonderful. Thank you so much for asking fantastic questions and really picking Joris's brain tonight. So appreciate everyone's efforts in that area. I'll just leave. I think I'll just leave this slide up as a reminder of our community, and I think we'll attach some of those additional slides to the presentation that we send out to everyone over the next few days. Thanks to the eKeeper team for helping to make this event possible. You know who you are. Much appreciated that you joined us tonight and fulfill your respective roles. I'm Paul Hutton, and it's been my pleasure to have been the facilitator tonight. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Joris.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Map recordingnya ada ya, Map?
Yes, Om.
Okay.
Ada.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Map.
Sudah
Okay.
di-share di chat for access to the events.
Okay, thank you, Map. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Om.
Okay, thanks again, team.
Yes, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Paul. And Tim. Yoris, thank you. Yoris is still okay. I think he already left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, bye.
Thanks, Om Eddie. All right. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.